Good evening, everyone. Everyone hear me all right? Good evening. I'm Ken Kellogg, your first selectman. It's my pleasure to welcome you here tonight. I wanted to just kick off tonight's meeting, which is really a meeting with the State Department of Transportation. As many of you know, this project started, maybe you may not have known, this project started some time ago. The town was notified of the DOT's intent to upgrade several traffic signals in the state. This one intersection in Monroe being one of them. That project kind of morphed over time, and it got to the point where there were some questions being raised through the traffic studies over whether the intersection continued to warrant the light, and some discussion was had whether the light should be removed. So at that point, when that was brought to my attention several weeks ago, I reached back out to DOT and said, wait a second, we didn't ask for a public information session originally because upgrading is not like a real big deal. But when you were talking about removing one, we'd like to have one. I'd like to have one. So I want to thank the DOT because they were immediate in their response and said, we will absolutely hold an information session for the town of Monroe. So I thank them for that. So it is obviously very important to hear all that you have to say here tonight. This is a state project, a state decision. They have assured me that they are willing to stay as late as you want and want to hear everything you have to say. They assured me that public input is critical to the decision-making process, so I thank everyone for being out here tonight. I want to recognize a couple of individuals who are here as well. Our Chief of Police, John Salvatore, thank you for being here. And we have several members of our Board of Police Commissioners who are our traffic authority in town, including our Chair, Ron Blani. Thank you for being here tonight. I know they will be here throughout the evening as well to hear everything that has to be said. I'm going to apologize up front. I actually left the meeting early to be here, and I have another meeting that starts at 7:30. I'm going to stay as late as I can, probably 45 minutes. I will have to sneak out to get to that other meeting, but I do want to hear as much as you have to say. They're going to be taking copious notes that they're going to be sharing with me. I'm also recording this so that I can look at it after the fact if necessary, and I know that I'll be meeting with the Chief afterwards as well. And DOT said we'll be having further conversations with town officials after this meeting. So with that said, thank you all for coming. It's critically important that you give your input directly to DOT. So thank you for being here, and without any further ado, I want to introduce Eric Lindbergh, who's the Principal Engineer for the Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Selectman Kellogg, and good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Lindbergh. I'm a Principal Engineer for the Division of Traffic Engineering, and I'd like to give you just a brief overview of the traffic signal program that we have at the Department of Transportation. And I'll introduce my team, Joel Lett, who will give you more project details, specific details, and then I have two project engineers here, Balaj Martai and Lance Pittman as well. So as part of our traffic signal program at the DOT, we own and maintain over 2,500 signals throughout the state. We have a yearly program that we look to review any equipment, especially those that have reached the end of their service life. So this is one of those signals that has older equipment at this location. The DOT then also upgrades and looks at other locations all around the state and 4 different projects that happen throughout the state, 10 to 15 signals as part of that upgrade and review. The upgrades use 100% federal money. So in order to utilize the federal funding, the federal tax dollars, we have to go through a series of steps and a series of reviews for every traffic signal location. So part of that, we use guidance from the federal government that says, in particular, our guidance is called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and it sets all the standards for traffic control devices on any road open to public travel. So in this day, we are doing our diligence in order to spend that taxpayer dollars. We are required to go through all of these steps. So preliminary investigations at this location indicate that the warrants in that guidance are not met. And we're going to go through some of those details for you and just explain some of those details further. So I appreciate your attention and listening so you understand where we're at and where we've gotten to at this point. We also have a policy with the Connecticut Department of Transportation that we do not want to maintain these unwarranted lights. So we look at that closely as well. At this preliminary stage, we have identified this location where the warrants are not met, and we're here tonight to talk about that part of the results and give you some more details. So I just want to emphasize public input, your comments, community input. We've been getting some coming in. We appreciate and want to hear what you have to say tonight. We also have some written handouts and sheets you can submit, and we're going to keep the comment period open for several weeks as well. So we want to hear you. There's been no final decision made. We want community input is part of that whole process, and we have been doing our diligence, and we're going to continue to work with the town officials. And before any other further decisions are made, we're going to reach out to the public, and we will reach out to the informed and have advise of all of that. So just wanted to assure you of that, and I think at this point, I'm going to let Joe give you some more details. We'll get through the presentation so that we'll have a chance, and everybody will have a chance to speak and talk to those comments at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Already have equipment issues. Okay. Good evening. Thank you again, Erica. My name is Joe Willett. I'm the project manager for this assignment. As Erica mentioned, the department annually upgrades traffic signals throughout the state of Connecticut. This is a multi-year process. It takes nearly a year and a half to design a traffic signal. And we're in the preliminary stages of dealing with this traffic signal here in Monroe. This is one of 11 signals. Tonight, we're only here to talk about Route 25 at Bradford Drive. Contrary to what people may have heard, the department has not made any final decisions. We want to hear from you. What information have we missed? What information can you add to help us make an informed decision? That is so important. I cannot emphasize that enough. My presentation should take about 10-15 minutes. Then right after, immediately open up the public comment. So just please bear with me for a few minutes. Let's talk about the project schedule. The department has a policy to inform all local officials when projects are undertaken. We did that in this case. We notified Monroe of February 2018. We had intentions of upgrading some signals in this area, including the subject location. And as part of that process, we like to hear input from the community stakeholders. So you wonder why it takes a long time for us to design and build a signal, and there's a multi-step process. First of all is the design. We've been working on the design for 6 months and longer. That includes a collection of a transit survey, site conditions survey. In some cases, we may need rights-of-way, so the property lines may not exactly be where the optimal location of where some of the potential equipment could go. That takes a long time to acquire the survey and that information. So that process takes a while. We expect to finish our survey in October of 2020. After we're done with that, we're going to be bundling the location here in Monroe with the 10 other locations, and we package it for advertising. And we do that to have a competitive bid. And the next step is the job will be advertised for construction, and that will be around this time next year. And it'll take approximately 1 year to construct. Two years, sorry about that. This is an aerial picture of Bradford Drive, which is in the middle. And I just want to show you spatially where some of the other traffic signals are located. We just didn't look at a microscope at Bradford Drive. We did expand out and look at the area. There's a traffic light to the north of the industrial park, as well as at Pepper Street, about a half a mile to the north, and about 3/4 of a mile to the south at Bart Road and the Shopping Center Drive. As Erica mentioned, the traffic signal is 32 years old, and it's at the end of its, the equipment is at the end of its service life. A closer view of the intersection. So on traveling northbound on Main Street, the north arrow is straight toward the ceiling. Consists of 2 lanes, a lane exclusively for left turns onto Bradford Drive, and a single lane for through traffic. Heading southbound, it's 1 lane for through traffic, as well as right turns onto Bradford Drive. And that lane also be used for left turns onto into Mason's Farm Market as well. Coming out of Bradford Drive is a single lane approach. That lane is served by vehicles going left, straight, or right. Part of the study included the Mason's Farm Market, and that they have 2 driveways, one of which is directly opposite Bradford. That's very evident by the picture, and neither of them are signalized. A little bit of history of how this light came to be. So, as I mentioned earlier, the light was installed 32 years ago, and it was installed by the developer of the Tallman Office Retail Development. That's the development on the southwest corner. And that was installed as a condition of a permit. And at the time, that light was required to be installed before he was allowed to open any of the buildings in the development. So it's been there since then. It was installed just for that reason. The traffic signal flashes at night, nighttime program flash operation from 10 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's going to be important. Just keep that in mind as we move forward in our conversations. So the light already flashes 8 hours a day. So when it flashes yellow for Main Street and red for Bradford Drive. So basically, the light is only in operation today 2/3 of the day. 1/3 of the day it's on flashing operations. Some other significant history at the intersection. In 1990, a left turn lane was installed. As you're going north, it was it was a lot of pavement, and vehicles and they were forming 2 lanes. Some people who wanted to make a left were kind of hugged the middle of the road. So what we did is we formalized all that to make a dedicated left lane and the other lane for straights and rights into the private driveway. And the last thing I mentioned, in 2011, we were contacted by Mason's Farm Market regarding signalization, and at that time, the property owner elected not to pursue the work at that spot. Okay, I'm going to talk about some of the elements that we look into regarding traffic signal review. These are not the only elements, but these are the major ingredients. Field investigation, crash history, sight lines, and traffic volumes. I'm going to step through each one of those. We conducted a field investigation at the intersection. So when we conduct a field investigation, we confirm that our transit survey that we took is accurate. We look for features such as new driveways that may have been constructed. We verify location of utilities. We look for presence of street lighting, evidence of pedestrians and bicycles. Maybe there's a new piece of a sidewalk installed. We look for those elements. We also measure sight lines and observe traffic operations. And by the way, our field investigation was about 2 months ago, a month ago, 3 weeks ago. So I'm going to step through the crash history. If anyone is curious, all crashes are ultimately reported to DOT by the law enforcement agencies in Connecticut. And there is something called a crash repository. It's a public website hosted at UConn. If anyone were to Google UConn crash repository, you can go through all sorts of querying, and all this information is public. You don't get any private personal information regarding who the operator was or their address, but you get to know some information about the date of the crash, the type of crash, was there any injuries, what lane they were in, and this information was extracted from this public website. So we typically study 3 years, and in this location we went beyond 3 years, and that's the next slide. We looked 3 years, and there were 5 crashes at the intersection, 3 of which were rear-end collisions, and the other 2 were fixed object crashes. You may ask, well, why do you have rear-end crashes at intersections? And actually, rear-end crashes at intersections are very, very common. And it's something called the dilemma zone, but I'm going to break it down even simpler than that. When you're driving along Main Street, and the light turns yellow, people need to make a decision. And the decision you make, it depends on how close you are to the signal. If you're close enough to the signal, you think you can make it safely through it, maybe you hit the gas or you just roll right through the intersection. In some cases, some people might elect to slam on their brakes. But what happens is the person behind you may be surprised. And that's where you get a lot of the fender benders. And there's evidence by those red markers on the screen of where the rear end crashes. There were a couple that happened on Main Street going northbound and one happening during southbound. Those are extremely common to traffic signals, is that indecisiveness. The other crashes are someone ran off the road going north and struck a utility pole. And we're not sure of the circumstances regarding the one that ran off the road and crashed into something in the Mason's Farm Market. The crash severity based on 3 years is very low. I believe there was one minor injury associated with that, and that's important to note as well. So as I said, we did look at the other crash history. We went on beyond our typical 3 years. So we're not aware of any crashes in 2019, and Chief, we couldn't find any. We actually went back 10 years, and what we found was there have been less than 2 crashes per year. Some years there were no crashes, and other years there may have been 3. So it averages less than 2 crashes per year. And here again, the last bullet there, 50% of all the crashes happening at the intersection are those rear-end type crashes. And the reason why I keep on bringing that up is rear-end type crashes are something that could be avoided by removal of the traffic signal indications. Sight lines. So what is a sight line? The definition's up there, but drivers basically need clear visibility from any street or public street or driveway in order to make an informed decision whether or not it's safe to enter the intersection or cross the street. That's basically driving 101. If you can't see what's coming, you can't make an informed decision. So the amount of sight line is dependent on a couple different things. How fast the vehicles are traveling on the road and the width of the road. In this particular case, based on the speed limit and the width of the road, in order for motorists to make an informed decision, have reaction perception time, they need a distance of 445 feet of clear sight line in both directions, looking left or right from Bradford Drive, in order to make an informed decision whether or not it's safe to enter the road. Now this is important because you say, well, there's a traffic light there. I don't need that. Well, remember, as I mentioned earlier, the traffic light flashes for 8 hours a day. When the traffic light's in that blink mode, you got a flashing red light. Motorists, if you're not even realizing, are making informed decisions of exiting onto the road when the light's not operational. So that's happening there today. I'll talk about the speed limit. We're very thankful for the comments that we're receiving already regarding this proposed project. We continue to welcome those, but one of the things that we continue to see are the observations about speed. And there's all different types of speed. There's excessive speed, the posted speed limit, but I want to talk about something called the 85th percentile speed. The 85th percentile speed is more of an engineering term, but practitioners understand, engineers understand that people don't drive the speed limits. It's not uncommon. There's a factor of safety built into that. So we don't design for someone going 5 times the speed limit. We design for something for 85% of the vehicles going a speed or below. So we have a factor of safety built into these, and that's the 85th percentile speed. In this particular case, the 85th percentile is relatively very close to the speed limit at 41 miles an hour. Now you may say, geez, I know that there's people going 67 miles an hour. I'm not denying that, and that probably happens. But that is not 85% of the vehicles. It is unreasonable to design for 100% of the vehicles. You cannot expect to design someone going 100 miles an hour on the road. There are no design standards for something like that. Here's a snapshot during our field review of what the sight line looking to the left or looking to the north from Bradford Drive. You notice that there's a sign, let's see if I dare not push the... Well, there's a sign there in front of the hydrant in the pole. Which one is my laser pointer? The top one. Okay. This one here, during our field road this afternoon before our meeting, is not even there anymore. So this in and of itself is a sightline obstruction. So...
But is that a state right of way or the town right of way?
Well,
that regulates the sign?
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay, so I'm going to move on to... Yep. I'll get to that, please. Let me finish the presentation. I'd be happy to answer all your questions. So this is the sight line looking to the right. And you need a required 445 feet, and the available is 500 feet. Now you may say, geez, where are these sight lines taken? These sight lines are taken from the stop line position. And in fact, there's adequate room for motorists to pull up even a little bit further to increase their sight line. So it's just a matter where motorists are comfortable waiting for the green light. They wait at the stop line or a position in front of the stop line. So, move on here. Traffic volumes. This is also something we've been hearing a lot of comments about regarding the traffic volumes on Route 25. Unfortunately, we were unable to find any traffic volumes when the traffic signal was back installed in the 80s, but we did compile what we could put our hands on as part of the public records. And I'm not going to go through every one of these things, but you can just take a sense that we're ranging between 18,000 and 20,000 vehicles per day for the last 2 decades. And in fact, we took a traffic count this past Memorial Day weekend. We started on Thursday afternoon, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Monday. And what we found, the traffic volumes on the weekday and Friday were very similar to what you found here. They were not extraordinarily high. Normally,
It's a holiday.
well, if
work. Come on.
please let me finish, you'll get your opportunity. So there is a counting program in every town every 3 years, and we were very surprised there is no 2016 numbers in Monroe. Don't know how that happened, but we did take a count, which I'll get to the more specific numbers, at the Bradford Drive intersection. So we do have a count from 2018. We do have a count taken this past weekend. Yes, it was a holiday weekend, we understand that, but as a point of reference, we have some numbers, but unfortunately there's not a 2016. So what I wanted to, the purpose of this slide is to show that there is not an increasing trend of traffic volumes based on the evidence and the data that we have. Okay, so we did conduct a traffic count at this particular intersection on January 10th, 2018. We confirmed the schools were in session. As you can see, this is a picture from the counter. There was snow on the ground. There's none on the road. It was a clear sunny day. Yes, it was cold. I'm going to get into some of the numbers that we counted. So what this is a picture of the turns at the intersection. And the top line, the green print, is counts during the morning rush hour. The morning rush hour, based on all the data we have, is 7:15 to 8:15. That's the highest 1 hour during the morning peak hour. In the afternoon, the highest 1 hour in the afternoon is 4:30 to 5:30. So let's take a closer look at some of the numbers. In the morning, there was a total of 12 vehicles making a left turn, 19 making a left turn, and 19 making a right turn. And you can see the numbers in the afternoon. These are the numbers that when Eric was talking about the traffic signal warrant, get put into an analysis, along with comparing these numbers here. No one's questioning how heavy the traffic volumes are on Route 25. That is not an issue. We know that. So something else to consider, what do those numbers really mean? So if you sum up the total number of cars in the morning, you have 31 cars during the highest 1 hour of the day in the morning, and 48 cars in the afternoon trying to come out of there, that's approximately 1 vehicle per minute. So we collected a lot of data, and we're going to have a conversation about the data in a few minutes. I'm obligated to tell you about the Manual Uniform Traffic Control Devices. This is a federal publication used by everyone in the universe that makes a decision regarding traffic control signs, markings, signs on all public roads throughout USA. It's a universal document. Chapter 9 within that document, by the way, it's 900 pages, you can Google it, it's all public information, talks about the warrants for traffic signals. And it gets into some of the things I've already talked about. The traffic volumes, talks about the crash history, and I'm going to step through a couple of these things. So warrant 1 is an 8-hour warrant. In order to meet an 8-hour warrant, there needs to be a minimum of 75 vehicles per hour for a minimum of 8 hours a day exiting Bradford Drive in order to meet that warrant. So during any day, any hour, there was never more than 50 from what we counted. When we counted it, that's the caveat. So we want to hear from you when we counted it. 4-hour warrant, very similar. In order to justify the 4-hour warrant, we're satisfied the 4-hour warrant. You need to have 75 cars, any 4 hours of the day, coming out there, not warranted. Peak hour warrant. Got to have a minimum 75 vehicles exiting for any 1 hour of the day. I will say this warrant is rarely used in Connecticut. I don't know about other jurisdictions, but on Connecticut, give an example where it might apply. You have a very large manufacturing office building where vehicles are just, a large amount of vehicles are discharged in a short period of time. That's when you might be able to justify installation of a signal for 1 hour a day. Pedestrian volumes. We counted pedestrian volumes during our, and we counted 1. It's not warranted. Doesn't meet the minimum warrants. School crossing. There's not a nearby school where school-age pedestrians are crossing this intersection. Crash coordinated traffic signal. In some cases, traffic signals are installed to help move large platoons where groups of vehicles safely were coherently up and down the street. That doesn't apply in this particular case. The nearby traffic lights are isolated or independent. They cycle all by themselves. They're not synchronized in any way. Crash experience. So I did mention that there were 5 crashes at the intersection, but it's the wrong type of crash. So fortunately, we don't have these type of crashes, and we're going to have this conversation. I know it's going to come up. So the type of crash that traffic signals do help reduce are right angle type crashes, T-bone type crashes. There were none. In order to satisfy the warrant, there needs to be 5 right angle crashes within a 1-year period. The other 2 warrants are also not met. So this is what we already told you. This is what Erica mentioned. Based on the information that we collected, we're going to hear from you to help add to the data. Based on what we have, does not appear to meet any of the warrants. And as Erica mentioned, we're obligated to go through this process. So what are we doing next? We're meeting with you folks, receiving, collecting public comments and concerns. We're going to continue our dialogue with local officials. We're also going to consider flashing the traffic light for a minimum of 90 days. When I say flashing the traffic light, it already flashes late night. It'll be flashing 24 hours a day. After that's done, after that happens, a minimum of 90 days, we restudy it again. We go through the entire process again. We take an additional traffic count, we look at crash history, we look at everything. We keep on studying. If after that period, minimum of 90 days, collect all the input, stakeholders, it's possible that a traffic signal will be removed. So, with that, that concludes our presentation, and I'd like to hear from you. So one thing I will say is, please be respectful of your neighbors. We will stay here as long as we will stay here as long as so everyone is heard. I'm going to go around. I'm going to facilitate the conversation, and I'm not going to pick on you. If you have one question, I'm going to go around the room before I go back to you yet again. So give everyone an opportunity to speak at least once before I come back. If you have 10 questions, so be it. So I'm going to do this methodically. I'm going to start one side and go back and forth. Sir?
I'm Dr. Chunamba. We have medical practice in town, and one of the properties shown up on the slides is ours. We're in business for 27 years in that location. And first of all, thank you for your presentation of showing us all the facts. And some are believable, and most of what you presented are not believable. I'm not there counting all the cars coming in and out like you have. With busy medical office, 4 medical offices in there. Combined, we're seeing maybe 50 or 60 patients a day. Every one of those, either they come into the traffic light, either they have to go southbound or northbound. So if our one office is generating that much of traffic, in addition to anybody living in Pastor's Walk, has to go do their runs and go to work coming back. That number is hard to believe that there are only 20 left turns and 20 or so right-hand turns during the time of your observation. And the second fact is that, as I was saying, I live in town and work in town. And those facts that you showed, the 18,000 cars that are traveling on Route 25 has not changed in the last 10 years. Visually, it's unbelievable. We all know how much traffic has grown. And third fact is that you said there were 5 crashes in all those many years. I believe that the crashes are minimal because there is a traffic light protecting people. Without the light, I can guarantee that. And I don't want that to happen. To me, my patients or anybody else in the town. And we did suffer economical damage with one of those crashes where someone actually, she will speak that she almost got killed in the intersection. Thank God she's here today. And the property damage was my property damage, which is repairable, and I'm not regretting that. But I'm thank God that somebody is still here. Because, so that, and the fourth last point I know, I want to give other people. When you count people coming in left turn, right turn, just at one intersection, between that light and the light beyond that, you said 3/4 of a mile is another town. But there are other businesses between the 2 lights. When the traffic is stopped at one light, that gives a leeway to other businesses, other people getting in and out because the traffic is stopped. Can you imagine if there's no light? Nobody, like us or Subway Plaza, Dunkin' Donuts, and other businesses, 100 of them. Nobody gets a break. I go to work every day on that line, and I go to hospital, I come back. I make like 20, 30 times I do turn at that light. And for 27 years I am doing it. So the reason I am here today is that This is a bad judgment in terms of the DOT, and it will hurt people, create more crashes, and it will not, you are saying it will ease up the traffic? No, it will not happen. You should travel here between 4 and 6 in the afternoon, in the evening, and 7 to 9 in the morning. Yes.
Very good.
Somebody from this side, closer to the front, sir?
Yes, I've been a resident of Monroe for almost 28 years and 2 months, and I verbatim will agree with this fine doctor. We have a school bus. If we have parents bringing in kids to school, which many do in this town, a lot of people don't have their kids go on a school bus. You get to the end of Bradford, and you have to take a left without a traffic light. I almost got killed twice in March. I'm retired, and I go out. I almost got killed twice in March. Not going to work, we're going to go shopping or doing something. Trying to take a left with a light there, waiting for my light to be green on Bradford Drive, and people doing this, driving down the road, twice in 2 weeks, almost killed me. And that's with a light there. Without a light there, sir, it will be totally dysfunctional. What you showed us up here, sir, is what we called in retail a dog and pony show. This was just for the benefit of making a deal so that you can get rid of this light. I don't know how much money the state's going to save, but I'm going to tell you one thing right now. You are going to lose lives, and God forbid, but there will be a fatality at that corner. God forbid. And it'll be on the state of Connecticut. It won't be on all these people that are here. Thank you.
On this side. Sir. Yep. I'm going to go back and forth each side.
Steve and I own the drive at Stone Farm on the chart right by the light. Besides just agreeing with what these guys said, I think a major flaw in this is that we did it in January. If you look at Mason's, my business, the business TLC next door, all three of them are very seasonal businesses. So April through June is night and day here in January. So at least when we reevaluate this, you have to look when your trucks coming in and out constantly in water-free businesses. And even the light Rainford, you have to take into consideration what's coming out of Mason's. So you got mine coming out, Mason's coming out, TLC coming out. It's not happening in January. I have no trust in this. I'm a very seasonal business, so please when you look at that again, because I know trying to go out of there every day, in the morning and at night, it's the same thing they're saying. I have no light at all, and I don't even want to make left out there. So please look at it again.
Thank you.
I'll give you a scenario, because I just Googled how far you can travel going 40 miles an hour. And you can travel 58 feet per second going 40 miles an hour. And you're going to pull up to that light, and you're going to stop. It's going to take you at least 4 seconds to look left and clear it, and 4 seconds to look right and clear it. You're talking 8 seconds. 58 feet per second. And those cars are trying to get out without a signal.
Thank you.
One of my concerns is, no matter where we go, living in the area we do with the light, you have to cross over 25 at some point. The light is helpful to do that with the businesses, the traffic on 25, and it is a concern of mine exactly. Speed bumps won't do it with a 40-mile-an-hour roadway, you can't put it in. That's like a highway. So my thing is what's going to be the impact of a truck that's coming at 40 miles per hour, and we're trying to go to make a turn northbound? What would be the impact on a passenger car from one of the large semi-trucks that does business coming from 25? And, you know, I'm a state employee like you. I have to travel for healthcare worker, for trainings, see the dates put here, or the amount of frequency, the timings that you did the studies for transparency. I think that would be extremely important, because as we're giving you the feedback on the times, because we live here, I agree absolutely, just being a parent. Every time that light has been flashing, because I'm the daughter of a retired officer for police department in a major city in Connecticut, and I have, my brother is now a police officer. My dad comes, he's like, why is that light out? And for me to call, to try to call about it, having kids is very hard, and it's a big concern. But every time that light is flashing, I'm thinking there's a problem with it. So I'm glad you at least told us that this is like the plan, but I have to say it's not helpful. And in winter, when you have small kids, yes, people are driving their kids to school. Was there a delay that day in January? If the weather's cold, people aren't going out. If you don't know the lifestyle, people are indicating that people are away from Memorial Day weekend. It's a huge time that people tie the Thursday to Monday, just like at my facility, or Thursday to Tuesday. You're not capturing the full lifestyle. So the stats, you can flip them just as we said, that is showing that probably the light is working. So I think both ways, you know, hearing from the people is very important, but I would be very concerned, and I know that, you know, sometimes people say, well, maybe it would be one accident. One fatality is too much. One fatality puts the state at risk for being sued for that light, which would be probably a far higher fee than the light itself, on maintenance of the light, or its lifetime. So those are my concerns. I want to say, I'm sorry, I have to leave for my child.
I lived in Monroe since 1960, before the roads were even paved. At that time, they called Monroe a little paved place. And it was Monroe's finest at the time. But anyway, I can just imagine a school bus early in the morning trying to make a left-hand turn without a light there. I mean, that could be a disaster with some of these cars, you know, flying down Route 25 there. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you take that light away, who's ever responsible, whoever it was, is responsible for any accidents that might happen.
Good evening, my name is Scott Mason. I own and operate Mason's Farm Market. I've had a business in town for 30 years. I started at the corner of 59 and 25 back in 1980. I know. Now I'm kind of blurs into that. We moved from the corner of 59 and 25. I purchased the property in 2002 where the light is. And the reason why I purchased the property was because of the light. To make easy access in, easy access out, and more than anything, safe access in and out. I spent a considerable amount of money and time. I had to change the zone on the property. I had to, you know, put greenhouses up and everything. It really becomes an issue. The road, I mean, it's a very, very busy road. The last thing I really want is somebody to be injured. If you look at it, yeah, there's not too many crashes there. It's probably because of the light. And with all your numbers too. I mean, as Enron proved, you can do whatever you want with numbers. You can make them look any way you want. Right. You go in January and a holiday weekend, I put a camera out there this morning to count the cars. From 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock this morning, there was 58 cars that took a left-hand turn. There was 54 cars that took a right-hand turn. I could get up until like 1 o'clock and then I had to come to the meeting. But I ran the camera from 6 in the morning until 6 at night. I think your numbers are way off. You know, this would be a detriment to me if they're light, but it would be more of a detriment from a safety point of view. I put all this information together about the TIP program and all that you brought together tonight. And I went to the town council, but I also went to the police commission. Gave everybody the information so that everybody would be up to speed. And the chairman of the police commission said to me, Mr. Galante, Scott, I love your place, I like your corn, tomatoes, you do a great job. And I'm only going in there if I can make a right-hand turn going out. And that's with the light.
Exactly right.
So what, I mean, you know, it would be a detriment to me if the light was taken out, as far as people coming in and out and going, but I think it really boils down to a public safety issue. I really hope you look at all the aspects of it. I really hope you look at the numbers from a true perspective and not a skewed way. And I hope you can make the proper and the kind and the right decision. I thank you for your time.
Good evening, my name is Patrick O'Hara. I've lived in town for 55 years. First I want to read a quick note from the state representative who is in Hartford tonight. They're in a session who cannot be here. This letter says, and it's already been entered into the record, I am writing today in regards to the traffic light at the intersection of Route 25 and Bradford Drive. I understand there is a proposal to remove the traffic light at this intersection to allow the traffic to flow at an increased rate. As a representative of this community, I believe this decision will produce negative effects if executed. The intersection of Route 25 and Bradford Drive is a dangerous intersection that sees many vehicles driving, turning both left and right onto Main Street from Bradford Drive. I have heard from constituents and public safety officials who have expressed their concern with potential dangers that include school buses and failure to obey speed limits. These concerns, along with the potential of decreasing signage and speed deterrents such as the traffic light, will give motorists the ability to cause more accidents, and therefore I do not support the removal of the traffic light. Sincerely, J.P. Straczynski, State Representative, 112th District. On behalf of myself, I've been an elected official in this town for 18 years. 8 of those years were on the Planning and Zoning Commission, 7 years as chairman. There is not a development going into this town that when we do the traffic study gets much better than an F for its terms. I think Steve Singelak's project, I think he had a D on his traffic study. I think it's important also for the DOT to note Pepper Street has a lot of undeveloped land. The intersection of Pepper and 25 has been it's had its zone change several years ago. The owner was interested in a gas station. There have been a number of developments on Route 25 in Monroe and in Newtown. So from a zoning perspective, there's a lot going on in this town. There's also another 100 acres that hasn't been developed, which is in the Pepper Street Business Park. So I think you've got a lot of potential for adding business. You mentioned in your accounts that nobody has gone up since, or this particular area has gone down since 2007.
Slight decrease.
Slight decrease. I think across the entire state of Connecticut, everybody's seen a slight decrease since 2007. I think factually,
It's true in Connecticut, that's correct.
Yeah, nobody's recovered from that.
Our VNTs have not gone up in
And,
years.
you know, I understand that from the traffic engineering studies, but from a hope study, I would hope that this state can bounce back and become the state it once was, and that people will want to bring their businesses and their families here. The last point I'll make to you is, as somebody who has lived here for 55 years, when I graduated Massac High School in 1982, that connector ended in Trumbull. 111 and, well, 111 just went down into Trumbull. There was a traffic light here. The Department of Transportation finally finished Route 25, and I cannot find evidence of anybody planning how to handle turning a small section of Monroe into the major interchange between Interstate 84 and Interstate 95. And I think what you're hearing from the folks in this room, while I know you want to have the comments confined to Bradford Green, is that we can't get to our own county.
It's true.
Because Route 25 places, and I've been there, there is one type of business or another, which is some kind of garbage truck going down the Bridgeport. And those boys don't go slow. So with that, I would say, please, I've heard some good ideas for you folks to go out and study when the seasonal businesses are in process. I understand your traffic manual, but with all that's gone on in this town over the last 30 years with Route 25 in total, I think you may have to take a few minutes and consider what's more important, the traffic study or the lives of the people of this town, who, quite honestly, I'm not going shopping if I have to take a left turn. And that's a fact. Thank you.
Hi, I live in the Northbrook condominium complex right down the road from the intersection. And I've been a resident there for 14 years. And I got to tell you, over the last few years, I've seen some horrific accidents from the intersection where I live, which is Northbrook and Route 25. I'm on that road all day long, and the amount of trucks that are on this road, and this gentleman mentioned the garbage truck coming down. There's gasoline haulers, there's garbage trucks, there's construction vehicles, there's everything, tractors and tractor trailers coming down, and they're not doing 40 miles an hour. No, they really aren't. They're moving, and there's so much traffic. And I think that maybe I'm totally off base. There's got to be at least 25,000 cars going by our road every day on 25. And the other thing is, I frequent Mason's Farm in the summertime. It's got great stuff. But I really, if you were to go in there and try to get out on a busy afternoon, rush hour, I mean, you better know what you're doing, because that traffic, like I said, that traffic is really moving. Try to make a left, take a right out of there, you better have your timing just right. Because it's scary sometimes, it really is. And I'm not afraid to drive, but I fear for my wife who goes in there, my mom, or anybody else who's driving. And thank you for coming down and hearing our concerns. Appreciate it.
I just have one quick question. There was recently a Route 25 study done, and I believe they also did a traffic study of the number of vehicles up and down the road, which makes me wonder why that figure wasn't used instead of going back to 2013.
We'll take a look at that. The most important number here, as we reassess what our next steps are going to be, is not the amount of traffic on Route 25 that already meets the traffic signal warrant thresholds. It's the amount of traffic on Bradford Drive. So if the study also has information on Bradford Drive, obviously we will consider it.
That's the most important to you, not to us.
Of course. We're pulling in 20,000 cars in a 24-hour period. It's well, even one car pulling out is concerning.
And for us who live on the bottom of the hill there, we would have to drive miles to get to the traffic lights and make a lot of calls. We'd have to go all the way back up to the top of the hill, another at least month.
That winter, it costs for
Now, that's just for us to make a lot. I mean, if you took that traffic signal, you pretty much have to stop traffic and make a lot for at least 3 hours. I mean, people jumping out of that intersection from, say, 7:15 to 8:30, from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. Wouldn't be right to give people that.
Ma'am, go ahead, continue.
No, just in reference to his, all those cars. When you did your traffic studies, did you do the traffic count from Pastures to Guinea, from Guinea to Havertown, from Havertown, because that's where all those cars are going to end up going? 59 and 25?
The traffic signal warrants are focused on a particular intersection.
But you can't, because they're all interconnected. People are not going to think, oh, I have no choice, I have to go this way.
I hear what you're saying, but that's not the way it's done in practice.
Well,
Sir?
Yeah. I'm just representing the 70 Milwaukee Fire Department. Chief was not able to make it today. I'm just going to read a quick letter. Concerning the removal of the traffic signal at the intersection of Main Street and Bradford Drive, Monroe, the opinion of the technology potentially affect the response times of firefighters responding to Station 2, which is north of the light 801 Main Street, Seven Township Fire Company. 9 firefighters currently use this intersection as a primary route while responding to the fire station, turning from Bradford Drive on Main Street northbound. With volume and congestion ever increasing on Main Street, our firefighters must contest at that time against traffic. I'll send you guys this letter, but we have response records. The heaviest response times are between 3 and 6 p.m. and Monday through Friday, which is obviously rush hour. And with respect to this information, the removal of the traffic signal has the potential to negatively impact response times by the Mississippi Volunteer Fire Company on Station 2 during peak incident dispatch times. The Mississippi Volunteer Fire Company thus concludes that the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation should not remove the traffic signal. And just observationally, when I get onto 25, even pulling into the firehouse, the only time I can pull in is when there's a red light up at Pepper Street. You get that little pause there, it's impossible. And I think a lot of people here in this room, what I've observed as a commuter and a resident, is when there's a lack of a light, people will go the opposite way they intend to travel, and then make a U-turn in another parking, in another parking lot to get on, and that causes a lot of backup. That really does, especially going southbound. I'm going to travel to work. I mean, there's a few times where cars, the whole line just stops, 50 cars. It's because people are trying to make a left. You can't blame them. And, there's no other way to take that left-hand turn. It's just too dense. So that's just the observation I have.
Someone on this side? Yes, ma'am.
Did you say the type of traffic accidents that would warrant the light or T-bones?
Right angle type crashes. And there were none at the intersection. T-bone, right angle,
Yeah, because my husband was T-boned there.
within the last 3 years. There's no record of it in the public records. Wait.
Absolute law president and a member of the staff and volunteer fire company. As Jim was saying, removal of that light would seriously slow our response time because there's so much traffic that you don't seem concerned with going up and down 25. We only have a small number pulling out of Bradford. That small number means a lot when they're trying to get out into that major number of traffic that you're going to think is important.
I've lived on Pastor Law for 25 years, and when you were talking about pedestrians, I walk my little dog around that road every single day. There are no crosswalks across 25 to get to Mason's, or no sidewalks anywhere, and cars are going by there all the time. By the time I get home tonight, I will have been in and out of that intersection 8 times. In the past 3 years, trying to take a left off of Bradford, I have almost been T-boned by somebody blowing through the yellow light. And to turn on to Bradford, making a left, I've had to wait multiple lights to make a left because people don't let you turn. It's just very discourteous, but nobody lets you turn. If the light wasn't there, I can't even imagine. I work in Newtown. I can't imagine how long it would take me to make a left turn out there every morning. It would be really ridiculous and dangerous. I think it would be very detrimental to the community to take that light out.
Thank you. Someone on this side. Someone you haven't heard from before on this side. This man in the back.
I would like to accurately these numbers that you put out there, because those aren't true. Three of my neighbor's houses alone with 57 cars. That's not accurate. I will physically sit there with you at the corner and
The information is public information. You can
But
come to our
you're not-
office.
you're not- I would like you to do a fair study is what I'm asking you. I would like you not to go by those numbers because they're not accurate. Memorial Day weekend, I was watching 3 of my neighbors' houses. They weren't home. My husband and he shared a car that weekend because it's a holiday weekend. I'm asking you to be fair and do an accurate study. That's what I'm asking.
Sure.
If that is a dangerous intersection, why is the left foot right?
It was perhaps years ago, when the development on the southwest corner was built, it was a condition of a permit to operate that they install a traffic light. and that was based on the projected traffic volumes anticipated by that development at the time. So the property owner, or excuse me, the developer installed that light. Had nothing to do with the amount of vehicles, the ambient traffic on Bradford Drive. It's due to the generation of the traffic associated with that development.
But that's not even where the entrance is to that complex. That's a side street.
There's two entrances to that plaza.
Yeah, they didn't put the traffic light where the main entrance.
That's where the condition of the permit that was in 1985. I'm just stating, those are the facts at the time.
Also, I know this school bus in town for many years. Pastors go out and Bradford Drive, and that light wasn't there, and still be sitting there.
Thank you. Someone on this side. Anyone else on this side? Hasn't had a chance yet.
Couple quick things. Firemen, I think most of Chief's letter kind of summed up a lot of what we're talking about already, but it's about leaving the firehouse, trying to go home after a fire call. You're taking your life in your own hands, trying to leave the firehouse. Can't say anything simpler than that. How do you just cross a lane of traffic, leaving the fire call? You have to worry about getting hit. The only way you can is to go to a stoplight there. That's on both ends, Pepper Street and Patches Water. The other concern I had was the number of accidents. We might just be in this report talking about what's happening at that intersection. I think the light does control speed and does have an effect on accidents up and down the road. If you look at the number of accidents, say a quarter mile, half a mile, north or south, there's more than a few of them, and I think that light does have an effect on reducing those. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am?
Yes, I really have just one thing to say, and that's the word prevention. If keeping the light prevents one injury or one death, it's worth it.
Someone else we haven't heard from before, sir in the back?
Hey there, what's the dollar value of this new light installation?
A typical-
And is there any other funding resources that the state could provide to pay for the lights?
So, I'm going to say off the bat, the economics is not even part of this equation. We're in the engineering stage. But to answer your direct question, it costs between $200,000 and $250,000 to install a traffic light in Connecticut, on average.
Which your flyer says it's 3.5 million.
That's the cost of all 11 traffic signals.
So what's the cost?
$300,000 a light.
Inspection is a range.
But even your numbers, you guys, your numbers prove that the light works. In the last 10 years, less than 2 crashes per year, 50% rear end. The observed speed limit, this gentleman brought it up, is 21 miles per hour. You take the light out, people know there's no light, that number will only increase. It'll be at least 45, maybe as high as 50. If you knew from coming from Pepper Street, there's no light until you get to Park Road. The traffic is very fast as it is, it's only going to get faster. And now to make that left-hand turn is even worse. The 40 miles an hour that she had figured out the distance, figured out for 50, it's going to, you'll be, excuse me, the cars will be traveling that much greater distance in percentage, and that is only, it's only a recipe for disaster.
Can't put a price tag on someone's light.
Someone else who hasn't already spoken, sir in the back.
How you doing? I was just wondering, who did the study on Memorial Day? Is that the DOT or did you actually hire somebody?
No, we did that, just trying to collect as much information as possible.
So who actually did it?
In the state of Connecticut, we did
There's a camera
that. That was us.
at the intersection and left out the.
Yeah.
Get additional data.
Why did you do it during the week when everyone's going to work?
We did, but we're learning from the community the day that we took the count, it was not accurate. So we got feedback from you, realizing that our numbers were not accurate. It was not a typical weekday. So we thank you for that. So what is that going to result in? Obviously,
Do another study on a Wednesday. Everybody goes to work on it.
Traffic signal studies are only done on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So yes, we can pick any one of the 3 days of a typical weekday. That's going to be one of the next things we consider doing, based on the feedback we received tonight, the accuracy of the numbers.
Yeah, Memorial Day was a Monday. I don't know, maybe that's just me. You said Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The thing's done, Memorial Day is on
Appreciate
Monday.
everybody's input that they
So,
do that.
just one last
That's
thing.
additional authority,
When
not
you do
part
this
of the
study,
original study.
you do the study, right? So there are over hundreds of businesses that between the two traffic lights. Why don't you do a study, how many people are getting into Dunkin' Donuts getting out? How many people are getting into Subway and getting out? All those things count, and like this net concept, you have a pause when you have a traffic light 3/4 of a mile. Everybody gets a break so they can at least make their turns. That's the point.
Sir, yes.
Couple of points. Number one, I think if you're going to do some surveys, you ought to do more than one center. And number two, you need to do it over the summer. I frequent Mason Farm Market, but that literally is in the summer. The rest of the year, I rarely have to go in that section of the road because I have to go on Pepper. If I want to go north, I miss it. And if I want to do something south, I go out the southern end. So that's, I can tell you from personal experience how difficult it is to get. What I would like to see is I'd like to see the Mason Farm exit be serialized so that we're actually being able to make a protected turn with a light, as opposed to talking about taking things away.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I just want to say, and I do thank you all for being here, we all showed up expecting valid and honest information. And when you're talking about safety issues, one of the things you mentioned over and over again was the rear end collision at the light. And I just want to say, you have Monroe finest here. The cause of a rear end collision is tailgating, is following too close to the car in front of you. It is not the cause of the light in front of you. By accident.
Very good, sir.
I've been on passenger board for over 44 years, and I was in law enforcement for over 30 years, so I know a little bit about accidents, and I know you're concentrating on Bradford Drive. And my vision is, if you take away that light completely, and people are coming out of Bradford Drive, it just takes one car, person, elderly person, not really with it, and they can't make that turn. If you ever go to the Masons in the summertime, you'll see 8, 10, 20 people maybe in that front there. It's right near the road. All it takes is one car to get hit, and you're going to have mass casualty. That's what I envision by taking away that light. Thank you.
There's a lot of kids from next street driving school, driving in and out of that intersection a lot. They're young drivers that will not be able to pull out and take a left out of that.
Thank you.
I've had 3 kids that have worked at Mason. During the time that they've worked there, all 3 of them have received their driver's permits. As a parent, if there was no light there, I'd have second thoughts about letting those kids drive to work, because that was some of the first driving experiences that they've had, was on their way to work there. And it's not just my kids, there's many other kids that work there as well, and I think their parents would feel the same way. I would have second thoughts about letting them go there on their own with their permits, or with their driver's license, once they learn to drive. So it goes right along with what this gentleman just said.
Thank you. Yes, you.
The 2019-2023 capital plan, the one that's in reference on the notice of this meeting was 0173/047. It says replace traffic signals. At what point did it become removed?
When we started beginning our engineering study, which we conducted in the process going through all the locations, first thing was we take a traffic count at every one of them. And we realized that the numbers fell short of the thresholds, and we started having an open conversation with the community. And it led to having a public discussion. So it's one thing that led to another. It all became the discovery after we do our count of when we replace a light. Standard operating procedure.
Does the price change from a replacement replacement to remove, I mean, do you go back and change the capital budget for that? or-
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we would. It does not cost $200,000 to remove the light. It does-
But I thought the federal government was paying for it.
There was another question I'll get to you in a second.
Well, I understand there are, you know, reasons and data as to why or why not you have the light. What's the benefit of removing it?
As Erica mentioned earlier, or why don't you paraphrase?
So with the unwarranted lights, these can lead to other issues where you're talking about crashes, I understand, and safety, we understand you have a safety program, so removing it allows have issues, what shall we say, respect for the signal, and if it's removed, then there's the crashes that we're talking about with the rear ends and the cars that would increase the rear ends that increase the signal, so that type of crash would go down. And there's disobedience for a light that's out there, it's green most of the time until someone comes to Bradford. And so they expect a green light, and that's what happens when people are on Route 25.
So if someone gets killed, that's when a thought a light would be put back?
That's certainly not something that
That's
going to happen.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you had a question? Yes.
I thought the federal government was paying for the lights.
They are, but we are stewards of the public money. So we're obligated. What's that?
But guess what? I think, not to disrespect you all for coming, but you don't live here, and I think you need to visit Pierce in the morning rush hour and the afternoon rush hour to see the line on 25. And then you may even think about putting more lights in the 25.
One other question. If the warrants are not met, does that mean that the state will not get reimbursed for this traffic light with federal money?
After we consider all additional information and data, if the warrants are not met, will be reinstalled.
No, it's reimbursed.
Reimbursed,
But in other words, if the warrants aren't met,
yes.
does the...
Okay, we don't have the money now. We would have to ask for the money. So as we complete our design, we would ask the federal government for the new amount of money. It would be less than what we're going to ask them for now. The budget would be smaller.
But the requirement is that the warrants are met. for each
Absolutely,
summer.
yes.
So, based on your warrant data, the state would not get reimbursed if they attempted to put the light in there for the...
Well, it's more than that. We couldn't even install the light if it doesn't need any of the warrants. It has really nothing to do with reimbursement.
I think you guys should also look into the accidents at Hillcrest and Monroe, because they're going to be in the same position they are, and they're constant. And I see them all the time. There, outside of Buffalo Bills, there's always somebody getting T-boned there. So you need to look at the data of the streets that don't have it too, because you're putting us there. And if somebody gets killed, that's on your hands.
Ma'am?
Why is it more important preventing rear ends than saving lives? That's my argument for the university. You were justifying removing the light to prevent rear ends. So that's absurd. Number two, what constitutes that a light is at the end of its life?
So the major components of a light are the steel support poles and the foundations. They don't last forever.
So replace.
That's exactly what the proposal was, to replace it. Modernize the equipment, replace it all.
So you have evidence of that, these poles?
32 years, yes, they cannot handle any more
So we
load.
wanted to see that evidence. We
There is no such evidence. It's based on what we practice.
So that's your estimation. Okay, and who are you sharing this information that you're taking notes with specifically? Who is that person?
Specifically,
Yes.
it's a collective effort between Laz and Balazs.
So you will be making the decision based on what we shared.
We are not, no, that's not part of the process. We're collecting information, and we're going to have a conversation with local officials. and if necessary, we'll come back to the public to get more information.
So it's local official who's making the decision, is what I'm asking. I don't know if it's a team, that's fine. Who is the team?
Who is the team?
That's it.
The Department of Transportation.
That's you.
Right. I think it's important for all of us to know that, because I do not feel confident and secure enough that you're going to take this valuable information back and really consider it. That's why I want to know the names of the people that are going to be on the committee making the decision.
So, local input is a very important component, and we've said that at the beginning. That's even with federal government stewards, it's local input. We have to go out and meet with the public, and we collect all this information. Getting a lot of good information here tonight, and we appreciate that. And the community support is obvious. Look at all the people here expected. It's really good to see that and get the input. And we're going to continue to talk to the local officials. We have what's called a local traffic authority, and each town has one. We're going to meet with them, and there will be further time and input from the public. This is not a decision like we're doing right now. I don't think we're making many valid points, and certainly the local knowledge is a component of that. So if no decision will be made without further recognition of that. That's why we're here. So talk with us, talk with, we have contact information, and we'll work with the local officials.
Last comment is that I'm hoping, it sounds like it changes a little bit, but initially you had rebuttals and justification for, and when we were proposing things, or suggesting the concerns. So I hope that's changed, because there shouldn't have been justifications and rebuttals when we were talking about lives.
Clarify something. You said to the gentleman over here, that if the warrants are not met, then you won't get a replacement light. But you're also saying, but you take into account what the community is saying.
We're collecting more information. So what we're learning is the information that we have that based on the warrants may not be correct. So if we get the right information or different information, perhaps when we evaluate it against the warrants, it'll be a different outcome. So we're collecting. So this is what we know now. We're learning so much more tonight. We're going to go back.
So you're saying if you go out and sample at a different time, if we suggest
Absolutely.
it might make
Yes.
one of the warrants
Yes.
true.
Yes.
But in the absence of something that changes the warrants from does not meet to meet, then all the citizen input in the world isn't going to overrule a situation where no warrants are mathematically met. Is that true?
That's possibly true.
Thank you.
Which is possible or probably true.
Possible. Because there is a process to go through the federal government. If, in fact, none of the warrants are met, there is a process to consider a removal of a traffic signal. And I did show some of those slides. And the process would be to place the traffic signal on a flash for a period of not less than 90 days and collect information, crash history, traffic volumes, whatever, and evaluate after the 90 days. And at that point, reassess the situation, restudy again. Does it still not meet the warrants? Did we were there unanticipated outcomes? Were there traffic crashes increase, like the audience is suggesting? Those are different factors. So if we get to the point where the traffic light is on flash, that would influence our decision to keep the traffic. So the light might never be removed.
No, we have to have 5 crashes.
So my question is, rather than, putting it on flashing for 90 days to see if there could be a detrimental outcome, why don't we just use one of the measures, measure it for 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and just get an accurate reading, during those busy times to see if it meets one of those requirements.
That's exactly what
8
we're
hours.
planning on doing, yes. We're collecting information. What we're learning is we need to study on a different day of the week, particularly during the summer. And we'll reevaluate it against all those 8 warrants.
School buses, everyone's on vacation, you have to.
I'm looking for a little clarity also. The initial study you did was in January of 2018, is that correct?
Correct.
In February
of 2018, a letter was sent to the town of Monroe saying that this light, along with 10 other lights, were being bundled in to this project. Okay, that's a month after you did the study. And then this information this project got sent to down to Bridgeport to a metropolitan planning organization. It was put on the agenda, was talked about with the selectmen and representatives from the DOT, and the whole project was approved. I don't understand. You did a study in January. You did a study in January, you approved it in February, it went down to a committee of first selectmen in the area and DOT representatives, I believe there was 4, and they approved the whole thing.
I think you're misinterpreting the study.
I'm not misinterpreting, I found all this information out online.
The count was just one day in January. That's not the study.
I understand. The count in January, did anybody look at that when they approved it in February?
We didn't actually receive the count, so that when we did a video camera that was put up on January 10th of 2018. That has to get those processed. So the video camera then gets run through a program, and that's how we get the volumes. We didn't get those volumes until that letter was sent out. That letter was going to be sent out regardless. It just happened to be in February, but we didn't actually get the volumes past the letter.
Well, when the volumes came out, did everybody know the volumes when it was included in the Metropolitan Planning Organization on the whole project?
At that point, probably all the regulations were still being gathered down.
Well, how would anybody be able to vote on it correctly if they didn't know what was, each individual light was the warrant? Now, obviously, back in 1987, the light met the warrant, is that correct?
No.
It was based on the projected volumes of the structures.
All right. Well, when I was born, my parents hoped I would be good looking. 59 years later, it hasn't really happened. Should I be taken out of service? But you really got to boil this whole thing down to one thing, and it really is a public safety issue. Bottom line, public safety issue. The reason why I didn't, I looked into putting lenses on Mason Mason's farm market. But the DOT wanted me to do all the work you want to do right now and have me pay for it. It would have cost me more than I paid for the property. I can't do that. I'm a small business, I'm a farm stand. To be honest with you, if you take that light out, I'm probably gonna, depending on how my business goes, I'll probably end up going out of business. And you know what? The state won't get the $25,000 or $30,000 a year in sales tax that I give them.
business is about 500 feet north of Bradford Drive, the light. It's a safety issue number one. I worked all day today. I need to get out of my own business. I live in Newtown. 2 minutes, 26 seconds. We didn't get clearance. The only reason why I got clearance was because someone from Wilcan Drive, a passer's walking down to the light changed. Then I had to look at traffic coming south to make sure that I could get out. I have employees that take the right, go to Bradford, take a right, turn around, take a left because then the light changes. What about the state looking at the average families that are with their children, their jobs, the time that it takes them to get out on 25? There's no consideration there. I have elderly customers, and sometimes they go, oh no, they're taking a left. Somebody 65, 75 years old, waiting over 2 minutes,
they're getting very anxious. They're gonna make some stupid mistakes. I don't know how many times trucks, I hear skid marks, and they just keep making them. You know? That's about all I have to say, except that if it's not warranted, I think the people in that area that we're all talking about, and the businesses, warrant that light. That light should never be taken out. Thank you.
And I gotta tell you, sir, you had your hand up earlier. Yeah.
Hey, I got a question. I sent an email to you people, May 23rd, 8:40 a.m. You really listen to anybody? Because I haven't gotten a response. I think, don't you people get it? And don't you respond saying thank you for your letter or note or whatever? Because to me, it's giving me personally an impression that you don't give a shit. Period. Now, I'm sorry I didn't follow this, but all I'm saying is I sent you an email. Don't I get the courtesy of a response?
Sir, what happened to you was not part of our business practice. It fell through the cracks, so
Just like the light is on the fall through the cracks.
yes, ma'am.
Will there be another public informational prior to the decision? Because there should be a lot more people involved from town. Businesses, Guinea Road, all those that are going to be
A
affected.
decision will be made jointly between the state of Connecticut DOT and local officials. And if the local officials feel it's beneficial, yes, we will have another meeting. Yes, sir.
All I've got to say is you've heard from a lot of residents in the area here tonight. You've heard from first responders. You've heard from 2 business owners. I agree with Scott. This might put in a lot of business. You're making the wrong decision to propose that. Absolutely.
Sir in the back by the poster.
How's it going? My name's Andrew. I'm a longtime employee, no longer one of Mason's Farm Market. And that being said, I spend probably tens of thousands of hours at that intersection, seeing what goes on. So I'd say I have a pretty good idea of what happens there. I can tell you for a fact that a school bus goes through that intersection at least 4 times a day. And I can also say that at Mason's Farm Market, a lot of the customers there are elderly people that maybe have poor vision or slow reaction times. Now, I know you said that 85% of the cars traveling through that intersection are going at an average of 41 miles per hour. So I ask you, are you willing to gamble the livelihood of the children that call this town their home and the customers in Mason's Farm Market on 15% of travelers on that?
It's not really a good answer for that question. We don't gamble with people's lives. I'll just leave it at that.
I understand that. That is the question. Good question or not is the question.
Erica, do you have a good answer for that one?
That is the question.
Not a good answer.
And also, as an employee of Mason's Farm Market, one of our jobs, because there are a lot of elderly people, and it's impossible to turn out, to maintain the traffic just in our parking lot. It's one of our jobs to keep an eye out to run up to push a button, so that we can let people in and out. And without that, we have nothing.
We never get out.
We have nothing.
Sir?
Yes. I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that the problem is Route 25, from where the connector ends down to Trumbull, all the way up to Newtown at the flagpole. And it's getting worse as time goes on because Newtown is developing and there's more and more curb cuts coming in from Newtown and people coming in and out. It's not just a matter of counting the traffic at an intersection or at a light. You have to count every curb cut and what is the traffic on the at every curb cut where there are no lights and you don't take any traffic count. All those people have to come in to get on 25. How are they being counted other than in the volume on 25? But you can't come out of some of those curb cuts unless you take a right. If you want to go south, you almost, and many times, and I've done it myself many times, you have to take a right, go up to the next line, or find someplace else, you can come around, and then come back 5 scenarios here have the same problem. You can't cut across the traffic. You can only take a right if you want to go north with a light, and vice versa on the other side. The volunteer fireman had it, the body shop, Caroline Body had it, I know Mason's has it. I won't go to some of those places, neither will my wife's shop. If we can't find, get on to 25 with the aid of the light and to go south, we take, to get home from Mason's, I take a right, go up and turn around in the parking lot, and come out and go at the Pepper Street light to go south. You can't cut across the traffic. So it isn't this one light. This one light is just one of every light, the 2 Pepper Street lights, that light, and those down at Hubble and 59. They all have the same, people use those lights to come out of the other secondary curb cuts that don't have any controls at all. But if you don't look down and see a break in the traffic coming south, and then you got a shot at cutting across. How are you evaluating that scenario, which is the danger, not only at the lights, but every curb cut? 25 is overdeveloped. The state approves the curb cuts. Why do they continue to approve curb cuts? Because the town asks for it. I know why the town is asking for it, because they want to get some tax revenue. But some of those should never be approved. And what do you do? How are you evaluating that scenario? I think that's I think it's a flaw in your data collection.
Thank you, and I agree. It's something we'll take a closer look at, absolutely, as we move forward.
Have you ever been to Mason's or Pastor?
Yes, I have. I met with Mr. Mason himself.
Because when he has corn, their corn is unbeatable, and I can't believe that those counts going in and out of there are accurate.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually referring back to the flashing light. You indicated that there might be a flashing light for 90 days. I leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, okay, out of Pastor's Walk, and the gentleman, I believe he left, but indicated that, 25 is the crossway between 84 and 95. To get out of there, even with a flashing light, I almost got T-boned, okay? But I have a fast reaction. A lot of people have said, older people, even younger kids, they don't have that fast reaction. So even with a flashing light, it's just as detrimental as if you pull that light out.
Thank you. Ma'am? Thank you. Someone on this side that hasn't already spoken. Go back to the other side. Anyone else would like to speak? Ma'am, standing up.
I just want to thank you so much for coming today. Just hearing the safety that we have, which I'm sure your dad reflecting, and I appreciate the voice that you're letting us share with you. And hopefully this data collection will prove that there is a major safety issue on hand. I fall into the kind of category of I'm a new driver. I have 3 kids on 3 different buses. So the safety piece on that is huge. Also when you're pulling out, which you've heard a lot here today, that
be honest, if your business is in the other side of the pie, I don't go. And just don't cross me by to go to business. If I have to go to a gas station, I go to the gas station that's on the same side of the pie, so I can cross it, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon. So I know what you're saying. The other one is if I look at your numbers over here and add them up, it looks to me like every 55 seconds there's a car going by 25, even in January. So how do you expect those 33 people to get the left over northbound 25 if there's that much traffic? I mean, to me, looking at these numbers over here, even in January, they're going to stay there for about an hour. They're not going to look to the left, period. There's not going to be an accident when they came out from the left.
Thank you.
Who would have moved into this area if there wasn't a light? I know I would not have. And so our property values are going to go down. I would have never moved here if there was no light.
Ma'am?
Just a question. Did they do a study that, let's say, you live in the area and you just stop the light of, what happens, how many people go up, turn around, and come back? Like, do you look at that type of traffic? So if you look at Dunkin' Donuts, and you look at the other ones, like how many people pull up, and that's gonna really cause a little bit of a backup? I don't know if you look at that, or if you just look at that one.
Maybe a trail camera.
So it's very clear we're going to be expanding our view, looking at the adjacent street, unsignalized streets and curb cuts in the area. We have a holistic here, more than what we already have done. But to answer your direct question, that is very, very difficult to do. You have to do a license plate survey and cameras and track where all these circuitous trips are going from. It's very, very difficult to track where all these cars are going if you're taking shortcuts through this. I can't say it can't be done, but it's very complicated. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to request a copy, a summary of the notes that you're reading. Is that possible?
We'll give it to the town, and the town can distribute it. Yes, sir.
You guys do any favorable tracking in the long run?
Well, we do make observations, but the most effective way, cost-effective way, is through video camera of collecting the numbers. And as you heard staff say earlier, that there's some post-processing that goes on, so it's.
You guys do observations like about a month of them, a couple of days?
I don't think so.
We have to check.
So that was probably another study we conducted by a person.
The cameras that you had out recently on Pastor's Walk, I'm curious because they are of a new sort and we're used to, there's no wires in the road. How do they count the traffic?
It's radar based rather than that.
The video is then processed back. It will easily count the cars from the
State-of-the-art technology, most cost-efficient.
instead of the tubes.
The count's done in 2018, the January 2018 one, so we're done with the camera. Now we have like 10 different vendors that we go through, and this one that was done over Memorial Day weekend in the past few days, that was done with radar.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I suggest that you guys check all different hours, because traffic is busy on 25 all day long. But the worst time is rush hour in the morning and rush hour in the afternoon. You can hardly move because traffic is so bumper to bumper at rush hour. I'm glad I'm retired and don't have to go to work. I feel bad for people that have to go to work because, I mean, it's bumper to, so you guys need to study more than just a day here or a day there. You need to check it all day long, starting early in the morning, like maybe 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, right through. And it's not just busy rush hour, it's busy, I mean, you can hardly move on at rush hour.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you or are you not taking into consideration the 20,000 cars in 25? Or is it just what comes out of Bradford?
It's part of the equation. But if you add 1,000 cars, 10,000 cars, it's not going to change the warrants. The number that's going to tip the scales are the number of cars, vehicles on Bradford and or the private development.
So how far back do your traffic studies like for 25, you have years ago?
We posted what we had, yeah. Those are average daily traffic volumes that go back, what was the first year I showed?
The latest year that we had from our planning group deals with all the volumes and gives a lot of information.
Yes, sir.
What's the number of cars that would need the justification for the
75 cars an hour.
making right or left?
Doesn't make a difference, 75 total coming out of Bradford. And we've heard a lot of evidence today that the number far exceeds than what we counted.
Is that in a 4-hour period? 70 cars in a
1 hour a day, any hour of the day.
any hour?
So your graph goes up to 2013. The average is around 19,000 on 25 from 1992 to 2013. What about 2013 to 2019, the last 6 years?
I try to explain that, said unfortunately, traffic counts are taken in every town every 3 years. For whatever reason, Monroe was not counted.
Right.
I don't have an answer for that.
Well, then, I would think that you should do a...
They're due this year, and we're taking care of that.
Prior to the decision being made.
That's part of the ingredients of the decision, yes. Yes, sir.
It sounds to me by the prior statement that you made, sir, about how many cars go out and passengers walk, that the decision's already been made that this light will be removed.
Absolutely not.
Excuse me, you said that 75 cars per hour was the magic number, correct?
Correct.
Do we have 75 cars an hour going out of there?
Not based on the numbers that we have.
Okay then. So then what this is, again, is a dog and pony show. You're just over here telling us fairy tales that are not going to come true, and in the end, you guys are going to pull down the light.
I respectfully disagree.
Well, let's wait and see.
Yes, ma'am.
I was in the fire doctor's office this morning, sitting in front row, and there was like probably 18 people in there. So to believe that their counts were way off, and I still like to push for you to do an account.
And that's something we're going to do.
Just his office alone.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
In the cars coming out of, and in a situation also being used, even though it's technically on the street, and someone is very busy, I think it should be considered because I've been employed in Masons for the last 5 years, and even this weekend alone, there's a holiday weekend, there's several, like a handful of times where I was like, oh, that was a close one, so we should probably move. So I think it'd be something.
So the answer to the question is possibly. If it's a private drive, we need the permission of the property owner. If there's put physical hardware down, like a rubber tube to count, that's very difficult on a gravel drive. Or if we have another way of picking up the information through a camera or radar. I don't know the limitations of the equipment. Is that possible, Balazs, from what you...
Well, I understand radar is not possible.
Is possibility. So maybe yes. If we can do it, we will.
So, I'm sorry, but I work for the town of Trumbull, and our transfer station attendant there has a counter.
What kind of counter?
Car goes in or out, he
Okay.
clicks the counter, and he's counting cars. And he's there for 8 hours a day. So there are ways to do it, to get the proper data to make the right decision.
There are more cost-effective ways of getting the same information. Yes, ma'am.
Of those 9 signal owners that you listed,
Yes.
if you just don't need one of them, does that constitute removing the light? Like this gentleman is saying?
You can meet any one of the 9.
I'm saying if you don't need one, if you just don't need one, let's say that first one, 75 vehicles, that, just because that's one, you can take the light down.
No.
So why are you focusing on just the 75 vehicles per hour?
Because it's possible after we reevaluate, consider just information, it's possible that it may meet a 4-hour warrant, and may meet a 1-hour warrant, and may meet other warrants. Yes, sir.
I really think it's a sad state of affairs. We're actually looking at T-bone factors. You know what I mean? It's like, they only got, nobody got T-bone. We'll just go ahead and talk about it. You know what I mean? I get
my sort of safety. You know, for you to go ahead and say, well, this guy's in the study, we'll take a little flashing and everything else like that. You know, seriously? You know, you're going ahead and it's like, yeah, they said test pumps. You know, and we're telling you right now, you got a room full of people that are telling you right now that what is going to happen. And it's not like a, you know, pipe dream or anything else like that. It's a freaking fact. It's like, you know, where Town Body Shop is, there's a little bit of a turn right there. You got somebody going 50 or 60, somebody hits the brakes there, and boom, because people know that light is there, that's a caution. Everybody that drives that road right now, it's like they know that they're coming around the turn, and there might be a red light, and somebody's gonna slow up. This is the only buffer that we have between, you know, I live on the street, my kids, friends, neighbors, little people. This is the only buffer that they have so that we don't get creamed by a truck these days where it's like 80,000 pounds. You know, a tractor trailer which goes right through you. You go ahead and crash that. And like you heard from Mr. Mason, it's just like, there's a lot of people right there. You know, standing 10, 15 feet from the street. We don't have any balusters, you know, in front of that. You're going ahead and gambling with somebody's life, you know? So I mean, you know, respectfully, I know you got to do your job, but come on now. You know, that's the only thing that we have that's going to go ahead and save one of the people that we know from getting freaking killed.
I have a question. The 90-day blinking light, is that definitely going to happen?
No.
Okay. Because I just want to make a statement. I've lived on Pastor's Walk for 42 years. I was there before there was a light. I wish we had data that showed there were a lot of accidents there. But on January 9th, the day before your count, there was a 90-minute delay. I work at the middle school. And on that day, frequently, there is a blink, that light becomes blinking after a snowstorm. I don't know why. So when I left my house 90 minutes late, for 10 o'clock, that road was busy, trucks screaming down. I had to take a right and flip around in Stone Gardens to get back, to get to my job. So I just feel like it would be too dangerous to put something like a 90-day. It's just too dangerous, so I think that should be.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
We've talked about the dangers of crossing the road and making the lefts and so forth. Do you all analyze the time if there's no light there that people are going to be waiting?
We do.
And how does that, A, how do you do it, and B, how does that factor into your decision making? My other concern is if people are being extra cautious, it'll back up on Bradford and it will take an inordinate amount of time to get through. And you know, then people get antsy and do stupid things. So how do you use that? How do you do that and how much does that matter?
It's information. There's no way to associate it. What it is it's traffic engineering modeling software. What it is you put the traffic volumes you count based on the geometry and the traffic control conditions. So if you have a traffic light, we modeled it with a traffic light. And we can see what the delays are in all the different approaches. We measure that. You can actually calculate a number based on a typical cycle. We also modeled the intersection being a stop sign. And we calculate how long the delays would be. And someone made a comment in the audience that there is going to be a wait. And yes, we actually calculated delay. In Balaj, what was that number? Yeah. So yes, we can calculate that. It's just a piece of information. During the peak hour is the peak hour. Peak hour. Yes, sir.
I apologize because I came late. I know we was talking about 75 cars an hour. You said that's just one number. So what are the other thresholds, triggers that you're looking at that would happen?
clear to you, it's not the 75 that applies. So that we're not wasting our time talking about a safety issue, which in my mind is not. But what are those triggers?
So these top 3 warrants, 1, 2, and 3, all involve that 75 car an hour. And that number varies depending on your conditions, whether it's a rural condition or urban condition. The number also varies if it's a 1 or 2 lanes. So in this case, we matched up the geometric conditions with in the manual, and the number's 75 cars an hour. To satisfy an 8-hour warrant, you need to average 75 cars per hour for any 8 hours of the day. That's 1 warrant. The warrant number 2, that says 75 is still used again. 75 cars an hour for any 4 hours of the day. Here, 75 cars coming out of Bradford Drive for any 1 hour of the day. And none of these involve that 75. These are all in this manual in Chapter 4.
But based on which study?
Based on the numbers we counted in January, which we heard were low.
Number 7 is going to get a lot bigger if you remove the light.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you something. Are you counting just Bradford, and Mason's is right across the street? Are you counting that whole intersection?
At the time of the count, Mason's was not open, but we did count Route 25 as well.
So you're counting what comes out of Mason and Bradford?
We did not count Mason's because they were not open for business in January.
Not in January?
I know you do research on other streets with other lights. Do you happen to know off the top of your head another street that's 75, a residential street that 75 cars come out that has a light that warrants? I mean, because it's a very high number, yes. And the people that live at the bottom of Pastor's Walk, do you realize because it would be so difficult to make that left? Even like yesterday I left, I couldn't make a left, even with the light. I had to make a right to go around. But the people that live at the bottom of Pastor's Walk have to go all the way up, literally into a different town, to be able to come out a different way on 25. But I'm just wondering, do you know of another residential street that 75 cars come and...
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. Yes, sir.
All right, so going to your 75 criteria, figure 4 traffic volumes for January 10, 2018. PM peak were at 91 cars. Do you only count the cars coming out of Bradford or out and in?
The 75 is only exiting vehicles coming out of Bradford. That's the key number. Egressing traffic.
All right, so we're changing it. I got it.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's tons of other lights in town that definitely don't use the 75. This all came about just because Scott didn't want to pay for the light.
Oh, no.
Because you're just trying to blackball me, right?
Yep.
Because I feel like I'm wasting my time.
That's a
You don't care about people.
mischaracterization.
You don't care about people.
Ma'am in the back?
Their own numbers.
Reason the light was put up is because the developer cannot get a permit without the light being put. So who issues a permit for the light?
The state of Connecticut.
So the DOT was in that?
It's an area within the DOT called the State Traffic Administration at the time.
So obviously then, if the state of Connecticut was involved, they thought it was an important thing to have.
Based on the projected traffic coming out of the development at that time.
So it was only to do with the development?
That's correct. Any other questions, comments that we haven't already heard?
When are you going to do your next study?
We're going to reconvene, talk to local officials, but soon. We're heard that the summer months are very important here, so we want to capture that. And on top of it all, school's going to be getting out soon. So we've been criticized in some places, yeah, we capture the summer traffic, oh, school wasn't in, so we want to get both. So June would be an opportune time to get both. Thank you very much. We're going to make that call in the morning, so don't need to do that now.
So I've had days.
But just to go back to what I had said, you said it's only traffic that's exiting Bradford.
That's correct.
The functionality of the light allows people to enter Bradford as well. I don't understand.
You don't need a traffic light to enter.
Well, it's the left and road, it's not.
You need a traffic light to make a left turn.
Turn lane. The reason you put a turn lane in. Because they couldn't turn.
Sir in the back?
One other thing I heard though, it seems like it's prolific that people go out of their way to not break the light, or go out the back way and not even get on to Route 25. You mentioned it's rather expensive.
No, it's difficult.
It's difficult. But given what I've heard today, it seems so prolific that it's worth it.
I'm hearing the same thing, yes.
It's something that you should definitely consider because there's a factor that you're not capturing that I think a lot of people said it's not being factored in.
Yep.
And it's again, it's prolific by many drivers, whether it's entering the street, exiting it, or not even going to that street because they know they're not going to be able to get across. So to the extent that I think it's worth it to go that little bit of extra mile in this case.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
In other words, if I'm going up Bradford.
Away from the traffic light or toward the traffic light?
I'm taking, okay, I'm taking the left to go to Bradford, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that car doesn't count going.
It does not. There are no warrants for that, correct. The justification of turn arrows are made based on numbers for left lane, like turning left onto Bradford. That's when sometimes you have a green arrow calculation.
I was just saying because we get a lot of traffic going up to Guinea and down the road.
Yeah, the number turning left from 25 onto Bradford does not factor into this. It's a component of the traffic signal.
So if I'm at Mason's or home doesn't matter. I mean.
That's right, if you were from leaving Mason's and crossing the street.
That would matter.
It's not counted.
This makes sense.
Any other comments, questions? Last call. Yes, sir.
Am I correct in saying that if it wasn't for that developer wanting to put that complex on that corner, that traffic light couldn't be there in the first place?
It's quite possible. The only other way it would have come about is the town making a request to the department to study it.
But the town made him put that traffic light.
No, the state of Connecticut made it put it in as a result of the development. Projected traffic volumes coming out of the development. The town, local planning and zoning approved that development. Came to the state for its approval, required them to put in a traffic light as a condition of the permit based on projected traffic lights, projected volumes. Yes, sir.
I just have one more question. So if we do another study here first week of June, will the cars that are coming out of Mason's, even though it's not signalized for them, will they be counted and then added to the ones that are coming out of Bradford?
It's not additive, it's either or. So we would.
Each road have to have X amount of cars?
Either one.
So you would then, so just hypothetically, 30 people come out of Mason's during the study and the same numbers are coming out of Bradford, those two will be.
It's not additive that way. No, sir. Yes, sir.
I mentioned Mason's before. I try to avoid or set my schedule up if I'm going to do multiple things so that I don't have to make the left to head south. What saves me when I do have to do that is the fact that there is a light that will be tripped by people coming out of Bradford. And so without that, that left becomes even more impossible.
Thank you. Are there any new questions, any other information, any other comments we haven't already heard?
They've used Bradford Green as a detour too, so people can go up Guinea, out of town, down to Main Street.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time.